Now that the U.S. has gotten rid of Saddam Hussein, one of the Bush administration's next targets may well be Hezbollah, the Lebanese-based Islamic organization, which has very close ties to the governments of Syria and Iran. U.S. intelligence is particularly concerned that Hezbollah, a sworn enemy of the U.S. and Israel, may attack Americans here or in the Middle East in the aftermath of the U.S. invasion of Iraq. That's what Deputy Secretary of State Richard Armitage had in mind a few months ago when he penned this label on Hezbollah.
Hezbollah may be the A team of terrorists, and maybe Al-Qaeda is actually the B team. And they're on the list, and their time will come. There is no question about it. And we're going to go after these problems just like a high school wrestler goes after a match. We're going to take them down one at a time.
What he's talking about started 2 decades ago as a ragtag militia group fighting the Israeli occupation of southern Lebanon. But there's no longer anything ragtag about Hezbollah. The Islamic government of Iran reportedly subsidizes Hezbollah to the tune of $100 million a year, providing its several thousand well-trained fighters with sophisticated weapon systems. Iran also sends advisors and, according to U.S. intelligence, issues its marching orders. Senator Bob Graham, the Florida Democrat who chaired the Senate Intelligence Committee in the last Congress and is now running for president, says the Bush administration should be more concerned with Hezbollah than they've been with Saddam Hussein.
If the question is, does Saddam Hussein or Hezbollah represent the greater threat to the people of the United States, in my opinion, there's no question that Hezbollah is that greater threat.
Because, he says, Hezbollah has a global network of radical Islamic supporters with enough operatives in the U.S. to pose a terrorist threat here.
It has a significant presence of its trained operatives inside the United States waiting for the call to action.
I know that you can't talk specifically about classified information. But if we were to know that classified information, would we be more concerned? Would we be more afraid of Hezbollah than we are today?
Well, I'm more concerned and more afraid than if I did not know what the scale of their presence was in the United States.
You say that without any hesitation.
They are a violent terrorist group, and they have demonstrated throughout their now 25-year history a hatred of the United States, and a willingness to kill our people.
Senator Graham is referring to the 1983 truck bombing of the Marine barracks in Lebanon, resulting in the death of 241 U.S. Marines. Hezbollah supporters say that attack was a response to shelling by U.S. warships of Islamic factions in the Lebanese Civil War. The U.S. called it terrorism. But Hezbollah's leader, Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, who we met in Beirut, insists that today his group poses no threat to the U.S. Unlike the leadership of Al-Qaeda, he is in hiding from anyone. You may never have heard of Nasrallah before, but he is a hugely popular figure, not just in the region, but also among Arabs living in the West.
You know that the top deputy to the Secretary of State, Colin Powell, has referred to Hezbollah as the A-team of terrorism. In other words, better at terrorism than Al-Qaeda.
Secretary Powell can say what he wants. I believe the Americans are just saying what the Israelis want them to say. I consider this to be an Israeli accusation coming out of an American mouth, and nothing more.
When he became its leader 10 years ago, Nasrallah turned Hezbollah into a formidable fighting force. Few people know more about him than journalist Nick Blanford, who has covered Lebanon for 8 years and is now writing a book about Hezbollah and Sheikh Nasrallah.
People adore him. I talk to some Hezbollah fighters that speak of him almost as they would a wife or a mother, that they think of him before they go to sleep at night, that he's always in their thoughts. So he has this tremendous sort of power over the rank and file.
Enough power to recruit and train skilled commandos who specialized in attacking the Israeli forces which occupied southern Lebanon for 22 years. Their most effective weapon? Remote-controlled roadside bombs which were detonated when Israeli patrols passed by. as in this attack in southern Lebanon. All told, Israel lost more than 900 soldiers in Lebanon. In May 2000, the Israeli army withdrew.
What did Israel's withdrawal do for Hezbollah in the eyes of the Arab world?
Well, it was an enormous boost for Hezbollah. I mean, this was a small Arab organization had defeated the mightiest military force the Middle East has ever seen.
With the Israelis out of Lebanon, Nasrallah encouraged and assisted the Palestinian uprising against Israel. He has acknowledged sending secret agents carrying weapons to the West Bank, where he is considered a hero. Some kids in the Gaza Strip even dress up like him, down to the beard and the glasses. At this event, a boy playing Nasrallah is flanked by one child playing a security guard and another dressed as a suicide bomber. And in Lebanon, where Hezbollah runs a network of schools and hospitals and participates in local elections, Nasrallah, a Muslim, is a hero even to the country's Christian president, Emil Lahoud.
For us Lebanese, and I can tell you majority of Lebanese, Hezbollah is a national resistance movement. If it weren't for them, we couldn't have liberated our land. And because of that, we have big esteem for the Hezbollah movement.
President Lahoud has such high esteem for Hezbollah, he's ceded control of the border with Israel to them. A border where Hezbollah and Israeli soldiers now confront each other just a few yards apart. This side, controlled by Hezbollah, over there is Israel. Hezbollah has already fired rockets across the border, and U.S. officials believe that in the past 2 years they've been stockpiling rockets in this area, hidden in caves and underground bunkers. Higher quality Iranian rockets that could reach Haifa about 50 miles away. Openly calling for terrorism against Israel, Nasrallah in this speech is urging suicide operations. In Palestine, he's saying, these operations are the only way to root out the Zionists. That's the kind of material Hezbollah broadcasts daily on its own television station, Al-Manar, which reaches a worldwide audience by satellite. Because of Washington's support for Israel, Hezbollah is conducting a ferocious propaganda offensive against the United States. This message, broadcast on Al-Manar, portrays U.S. foreign policy as satanic. The image of the Statue of Liberty, a skull for her face, wearing a gown dripping with the blood of other nations. But even though he's one of the most powerful anti-American voices in the Middle East, he has no use for Saddam Hussein. In fact, he blames the U.S. for Saddam's rise.
The U.S. provided political and military support to the Iraqi regime for decades. They created this mess. I don't believe Saddam alone should be held accountable. We should also go after those who supported him, like the American government.
Sheikh Nasrallah has described war on Saddam as a satanic American Zionist plan to dominate the Arab world.
What is satanic about removing Saddam from power?
The United States isn't seeking democracy in Iraq, it's after the oil in Iraq. And that isn't exactly a humanitarian pursuit. The U.S. wants to impose its political will on Iraq and wants to impose Israel's domination in the region. Certainly these objectives are not moral objectives, in my opinion. In fact, we say they are satanic objectives.
And yet Nasrallah has spoken out against terrorist attacks on the U.S., including the attack of September 11th.
We reject those methods and believe they contradict Islam and the teachings of the Quran, which do not permit this barbarity.
But Senator Graham doesn't buy it.
There are a number of lessons that we should learn from September the 11th. One of those lessons is these terrorist groups tend to do what they say they are going to do. If they define the United States as being satanic and that therefore they want to kill us, they will find ways to carry out that objective.
And are you convinced that they possess weapons of mass destruction?
I'm not certain whether they possess them, but I am confident that they could possess them through their close affiliation with Iran, which has a larger warehouse of chemical and biological weapons and is closer to gaining nuclear capability than Iraq.
So if Iran wants them to have weapons of mass destruction, they'll have them.
They will have them, and they'll have them in large quantities.
Iran isn't the only country that supports Hezbollah. Syria allows them to train fighters in remote camps in Syria and in territory under their control in Lebanon.
In recent years, they have been infiltrating into this core in the United States people who have gone through their training camps and have the skills of terrorist activity.
According to the FBI, Hezbollah has never conducted a terrorist attack in the United States. The FBI says that its members here are raising money for activities overseas, nothing more than that.
There has to be a first for every organization. The first for Al-Qaeda was September the 11th, 2001. When will be the first attack against an American in America by Hezbollah?
We asked Lebanon's President Lahoud, a political ally of Hezbollah, if Americans have anything to fear from them.
Americans? For sure not.
But the United States is the strongest backer of Israel. It's the same kind of thing you see with Al-Qaeda, attacking the United States to get at Israel.
Well, believe me, they don't have anything to attack the U.S. Or any U.S. citizen for sure. But Israel is our enemy. That's something else. It has nothing to do with the U.S.
But that's not what Nasrallah said last month, just days before the war began. We are confident, he said, the Iraqi people cannot accept the humiliation of a U.S. occupation government, which he added would really be a Zionist occupation government. Then he warned the Americans they'd be met with rifles, blood, and suicide operations.
American policies in the region encourage this kind of retaliation, whether we agree with it or not. I am expressing the reality. I believe the continuation of American policy will make enemies of all Arabs and Muslims, meaning hundreds of millions of Arabs and 1,400,000,000 Muslims around the world. Lots of groups will surface, not necessarily Al-Qaeda, and they'll be impossible to bring to justice.
Just this week, PAL threatened Syria with tough new sanctions if it continues to support organizations the U.S. classifies as terrorist.
Hello.
It's me. Turn on the TV.
Hang on.
The Senate remained in emergency session late into the night, debating the president's call for martial law. We have in this country a tradition of invoking martial law only when the most dire of circumstances require it. But at what cost? All eyes now turn to New York City to see if martial law will bring the terror to an end.
Good morning. Today, with the invocation of the War Powers Act by the President, I am declaring a state of martial law in this city. To the best of our knowledge, we are opposed by no more than 20 of the enemy. He's hiding among a population of roughly 2 million. Intelligence tells us that he is most likely Arab-speaking, between the age of 14 and 30, narrowing the target to 15,000 suspects. We can further reduce that number down to those that have been in this country less than 6 months. Now you have 20 hiding among 2,000. If you are one of these 20 young men, you can hide among a population of similar ethnic background. Unfortunately for you, you can only hide there. And that population in the classic immigration pattern is concentrated. Right here, in Brooklyn. We intend to seal off this borough. Then we intend to squeeze it. This is the land of opportunity, gentlemen. The opportunity to turn yourselves in. After sundown tonight, any young man fitting the profile I described who has not cooperated will be arrested and detained. There's historically nothing more corrosive to the morale of a population than policing its own citizens. But the enemy would be sadly mistaken if they were to doubt our resolve. They are now face to face with the most fearsome military machine in the history of man. and I intend to use it and be back on base in time for the playoffs.
Originators became gladiators, guard body regulators, with street educators. I was born through the womb of Linda G. Hamlin. She's the creator of the Terminator, Ninth Prince Rhyme Slayer, Stapleton Housing Projects, phases, machine gun blazers, at your neighbors, Jamaican rum no chaser, #1 contender. We can bust guns after dinner. Last man standing, he's the winner. Ghetto Prime Minister, Desert Storm, Ski Mask, Avengers. We move like ninjas in the winter. Brown skin Adonis, slugs to the stomach, blood gush like Ramic. Madman's bionic, check the weather climate, strike like lightning. Terrorist Islamic, a ghetto superhero like Marvel Comics. Vertical limits, fresh notebooks, I write anthems for Crook's image. Cross the line to scrimmage, I shoot you in your temple and leave your face shattered with dimples. Killer arm could never be so simple. Cross my heart and won't die till your ass is crippled. In a wheelchair, kneecap raps, flashbacks to digital warfare, warfare. Yeah, I want to say what out to everybody that copped that first and second album. Word up, y'all real troops out there. Yeah, Hey yo, my lions run through club cheaters with rusty heaters that blast like lyrical heat seekers through the speakers. Non-believers are deceivers through the media. Lyrics by the teacher. I walk through Harlem like Black Caesar. Razor blade stashed inside the sole of my sneaker. Ill graphics, far from a savage. The streets is wicked like Halloween havoc. Little children with automatics. Imagine babies drive-bys in a cabbage. Rappers is like Peter Pan. I'm built like Sandman on the desert lands. I'm from Shaolin. My sword is a mic stand. Use to swallow your glands. Nine princes in command of the stage. My heart pumps rage like a jungle lion trapped inside a cage. I free the slaves through the airwaves. A hot 97 airplane. All my real soldiers wave your AKs and hand grenades. Word the fuck up. The ninth prism. The new millennium. Peace and blessings to all the 5 boroughs. Brooklyn, Manhattan, Staten, word up. Queens, you know, Long Island, upstate, Connecticut, the whole tri-state, New Jersey. Peace and blessings to Killer Arm. We armed and dangerous, for real. The new millennium. Get ready. 1 live, 2 lives, 3 lives.